from Newsweek, Trump administration deeply concerned by violence against Christians in Nigeria. The State Department has told Newsweek that it is deeply concerned about the levels of violence against Christians and members of other groups in Nigeria. It comes after American comedian Bill Maher brought attention to the high number of Christians being killed by Islamic militant groups such as Boko Haram in parts of Nigeria. The country has generally pushed back against narratives that Christians are being systematically killed in a genocide attempt, as Maher described it, with Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying in March that the terrorism in the country is not driven by religious bias nor targeted against any particular religious groups. Now, this is the existing government, which you guys are saying is run essentially by the Muslims, which are in at least sympathetic to the Milani.
Complicit, right? I mean, if you're not stopping it, you're complicit.
Sure.
Let me give you a story. 2018, then President Buhari came to the Rose Garden, had a discussion with Trump. A girl named Leah.
2018, you said?
2018. So he was president, 2 terms, so he lasted 8 years. He came. A girl named Leah Sharibi was kidnapped 2 months before. This has been going on by terrorists taking girls forcibly, converting them. It was terrible. It's tragic. He confronts Buhari and says, "What are you doing to Christians? I hear there's one girl still captive. You need to free her. Why are they killing Christians?" I was on my way to Nigeria when that speech was being made. I was in a governor's office, and he says, "All hell's breaking loose." I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Your president said something yesterday, and all the generals, all the government is trying to save face. They're trying to respond to this." Same thing happened. So that was the flaw. And he is also helping with the terrorists. Things started to happen. When Trump said something, Nigeria responded.
Well, this particular piece that I was watching or that I was reading from in Newsweek, this was October 1st. That was 2 or 3 days ago.
Yep.
Do you get the sense, or do you have any of your contacts in Nigeria? Have they noticed this?
I think Bill Maher started it. I think there's Senator Cruz has introduced legislation, and then Congressman Chris Smith has done it as well.
Yes,
so
okay.
When people say things, they're ecstatic because
we both know that no legislation is going through Congress, right? Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it might get through the House, but it's definitely not going to get through the Senate because the Senate, they just don't have the votes for Republicans, and anything that the Democrats can do to stymie the Republicans.
That's why we're focusing on Trump.
Yeah. That's why we're trying to get to Trump and the Trump administration. Look, even Trump saying a few words changed the scope for a while in Nigeria. And you saw the killings shrink and drop down.
Does your organization have any contact with people at state?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just came back from DC. I've been meeting with the State Department.
Okay.
And providing them information about what's going on. The problem is like I said, for the last 4 years, the U.S. Embassy had an operating directive focusing on stupid social issues.
Sure.
And I met with the U.S. Embassy in Abuja. They had no idea what's going on outside their doors in Abuja. They didn't know about the killing.
They can't leave the grounds.
They can't leave the grounds. They can't go anywhere.
The Nigerian staff can go out, but the American staff can't.
But the information that they get about what's happening in Nigeria is coming from the Nigerian government.
Yeah, so whatever they're selling, they're buying 100%. Whatever the Nigerian government's telling them, the U.S. Embassy. So when a congressman or senator
are they still currently?
We don't know.
Well, things have been shaken up.
Has there been new staff put into play? Like, I mean,
it's on its way in.
Okay.
It's on its way in. So we're hoping that we can build new relationships with them and we can actually inform them on what's going on. Like I said, Truth Nigeria, our reporters on the ground, whenever there's attack, our guys are on the ground interviewing people, eyewitnesses. Now, for Newsweek and for people saying, well, it's not religiously motivated. It's not religiously motivated. It's a lie from the pit of hell that has been spread by Islamists and Islamic countries all over the world ever since its inception. It's not religiously motivated. We're nice people. Let us in.
So that the thousands of Christians are being killed. Over 20,000 churches have been attacked or destroyed. How many mosques?
Yeah, I mean, look,
no mosques have been destroyed.
A few, but
you guys are probably familiar with Christopher Hitchens passed away of cancer a couple of years back.
Yeah.
And he had a saying that Islam has bloody borders. And it generally, any place where a sufficiently large population of Muslims comes in contact with people that have a different religion or different culture, there tends to be clashes and fights and violence. Yeah. So that's not really particularly surprising.
So it comes in 3 forms. It comes with cultural jihad. We move in, populate, and every village tells me the same story. The survivors of these attacks every single time tells me the same story. So, like, we had neighbors. We lived next to them for 30 years. Fulani. We lived with the Fulani for 30 years. Our children played together. We did business together. Everything was fine until the one day. The one day they just weren't in town. That one day, and then an hour later, boom.
Militants came.
Oh, okay.
Militants-
So essentially, they're informing the Fulani.
Yes.
Or they're providing cover, or
they're providing cover or partaking in the attacks themselves.
Well, yeah.
Every village, every attack says the same story. And when they come in, they shout Allahu Akbar. They're going after the churches. They go after the churches first. They desecrate the churches and burn the churches, and they go after the pastors. They behead the pastors. They kill the pastors. It is religious, because this is how Islam has conquered every nation since its inception, since 640 AD.
Mm-hmm.
It is how it is conquered. And there are more moderate Muslims that have, leaving that kind of ideology, but the ideology that is with the Fulani ethnic militia is the same Islam that has conquered and believes in killing anybody that gets in their way that doesn't agree with them.
And it's right. So you're saying, oh, there's Muslims being killed too. Yeah, right. Because they're non-Fulani Muslims. That's why they're being killed.
But
not at the same level, but they're
is there a difference between, are they Sunni Muslims? Because I
Sunni Salaf, that's what they are, right?
the Fulanis that are doing the killing are Sunni. The Muslims that end up getting killed by them, they're Sunni
There's
as well.
a small group of Shias, and they're based in one area. They're being attacked by the government, but also could be the Fulani too.
That's great for them.
Yeah, but that is cultural, because you're not of the pure blood of Fulani.
Yeah.
So you're not a true Muslim unless you do this, or we don't even care about you. We'll get rid of you. You're not part of our emirate.
Okay.
You're a slave, because that's what the emirate did. Yeah. From 1804, they took on almost as many slaves as the British were exporting out of Africa. So they had just as many slaves across their kingdoms. So.
So.
And it still exists. Slavery still exists in Nigeria, in where Islam is.
Yeah. So I want to talk about another issue that needs to be brought up. Is we have the killings, you have the displaced, the 3.5 million displaced, but we have a major kidnap problem going on in Nigeria, where right now we know of over 1,000 Christians that are currently being held hostage, or being beaten and starved to death, and they're trying to be ransomed out. This is just one area we know of. Now, here's the thing. The Nigerian government knows where these people are. We know where the hostage camps are. Nothing's being done to rescue these people.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there's multiple camps like this in other states. But what I know of for sure is 1,000 Christians are being held captive right now, being beaten and starved to death. And people that are trying to pay the ransom are going bankrupt, having to sell everything they own just to get their people out. And if ransom isn't paid, they're getting shot.
They take a phone, they kidnap people, students, children, women, and they film them being beaten. Pay money now, or this is going to continue. And that's how so they're sending messages, recording it. So you get the cell data, you can get all that information. It's not rocket science. You do satellites or drones.
Yeah.
Find out where they are.
And they happen to be all Christian.
Because they pay. Christians don't want to see this. They pay up. Muslims won't pay if they get kidnapped.
Really? They just, well, they're martyred, so.
So they know,
Okay.
opportunity.
Yeah. So I'm kind of still at a loss for what the actual, save for covert operations by state, which, I mean, that might be something that the State Department's entertaining, but there's not a significant appetite for that in the U.S. nowadays. Especially after, with Trump going in and getting into office again and saying that we're going to focus on the United States. I mean, you can see it in the chat. There's a lot of people that are saying, well, they don't see how this is America's problem, right? So there are some people that are like, well, they're Christians, and a lot of America First people tend to be religious. So they're like, well, maybe because they're Christians. But there's a lot of people that are America First that are like, I don't see how this is an American problem. I don't see how this is something that we have to worry about. We have our own problems here, which, I agree in principle. The idea that the United States should be looking after itself first, and then they bring up the actual monetary cost. But anytime anyone brings up the monetary cost, I'm like, look, man, if you're not talking about Medicare and Medicaid and Social Security, you're not talking about fixing any problem at all. All of the
Right.
I'm against. Like we were talking about it earlier in the show, I'm against foreign aid because it tends to actually distort markets, and it prevents countries from taking care of themselves. So I'm against foreign aid in principle. But if the U.S. stops all foreign aid to all other countries, it's not going to fix our deficit. It's not going to fix our monetary issues.
Well, two things. One, Nigerians are here in America already. They've been born here. Some have immigrated here as they're Nigerian born. There's over 1 million Nigerians in Texas, in Atlanta.
Sure.
You know, they say Atlanta is the second biggest Nigerian city, right?
And if you talk to Nigerians that are in the United States, they tend to be extremely industrious. They tend to be very successful in opening businesses and stuff. So the idea that if there are Nigerians that are coming to the U.S. that they're coming to get onto some kind of social support, I think that's actually
they want to work. They don't.
Nigerians, when they move to America, they make like 15% more per capita than the average white person because they're so industrious, and they are hardworking people. So they're not coming in here trying to get on the dole on the system. Yeah. They want to hustle and they want to make a good living.
The second thing I was going to say is that you have this radicalized young Muslim who wants to bring about change for their Fulani, for terrorism, whatever. They get trained. They end up sneaking across the desert, going into Europe. Have you ever watched these shows? This guy who travels the border and he sees ID cards and that's what people leave behind as they cross in the border illegally.
Yeah.
Nigerians are already there. So you can't tell me that this does not affect Americans because they're coming in either for a handout, maybe, but maybe something worse. So how do we stop that? The joke we have is that this could be solved in 6 months. No money, maybe it's a flight ticket, maybe some jet fuel. Masad Boulos is a Nigerian Lebanese guy. His son, Michael, is married to who? Tiffany Trump. He knows Nigeria. Send him over. We'll show him who the real Nigerians are. Talk to them, bring them to the government and say, how do we solve this in 6 months? Let's make a deal.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War Podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.